Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you for joining us for episode 18 of the SimplySada Series. Today we have Adam Dawood, who's currently the chief builder at bSecure. The reason we have him on this call is because he's a pioneer when it comes to the e-commerce space. So Adam has worked for companies like Daraz, when he was much younger, but then he eventually scaled that experience into being the founder and CEO of Yevo. And he scaled Yevo into a household name. We all know Yevo. Lots of you must have transacted with Yevo. But as I said, currently he's working on a problem that he sees in e-commerce, transactions, which are conversion rates. हम लोग सोचते नहीं है छोटी छोटी चीजें, but conversion rate is a huge problem all over the world when it comes to e-commerce websites, and he's found a problem and he's solving it. So more power to you, Adam. Thank you for joining us. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for having me, Omer.
So Adam, let's start with bSecure. What is it? Why is it? What are you doing? What problem are you solving?
So bSecure is actually where I want to solve a lot of the problems that I face myself creating e-commerce stores, not just large ones like Kaymu or Yevo, but small ones as well, like Pet People that I started a couple of years back. So there's a couple of key issues there. So one, as you rightly mentioned, is the conversion rate. So, one of the key things that as e-commerce practitioners, we've always focused on is conversion rate, because generally what happens is for every 100 people that come onto your e-commerce website, 1 or 2 might make a purchase. And that's considered a very good conversion. Now, how do you drive that up? And there's a lot of sort of science behind this as well. Reduce the number of fields, make everything very clear, make exception handling very simple, and the UI UX needs to be phenomenal, easy, and clean as well. So that is a bare minimum that we're doing. But at the same time, what we also want to do is we want to actually help drive customer behavior towards not only prepayments, but to, making more purchases online. Now, today, if you're an e-commerce customer and if you shop on multiple stores, it gets very cumbersome very, very quickly. So you have to put in, for every e-commerce store you go to, you have to put in your address, your email, your phone number. Then you need to basically put in your card details if you're paying by card or any other such thing. And then your OTP, CVV, and all of that. And it can become very cumbersome if you shop a lot online. Now, one of the things we are doing, we're making it super simple for anyone to shop online, because we will bSecure will in effect be your identity online. So the same way you log into any website with Facebook, now with bSecure, you'll be able to log in and check out and pay with bSecure as well. So that's on the consumer side. On the merchant side, or as we like to call them, builders, so on the builder side, while everyone talks about reducing COD, getting rid of COD and things like that, in Pakistan today, it's still very tough to do for one very simple reason. As the State Bank's last report, there's only 1,700 merchants in Pakistan who are accepting or have signed up for prepayment solutions in Pakistan. Now, the number of e-commerce stores are much greater than that. So, at a bare minimum, we need to get more merchants onboarded to prepayment solutions. So what bSecure does is make that entire process as seamless as possible in today's environment in Pakistan. So if you have a WooCommerce Magento store, you can literally be up and running with bSecure in 2 minutes, guaranteed. And then to basically be ready for online payments, it will take you another day, 2 days max, when we basically connect you with our banking partners to basically create an account with them.
Okay, interesting. You already have fans. I have comments from Facebook coming in just with the description of the product. Inshallah, once they experience it, they'll wow. we have comments coming in for sure. Okay, awesome. So in terms of payment gateways, what do you think is the problem? I've talked to founders all the time. I talk to e-commerce stores all the time, and they're just crying. They're crying for the fact that they have given an application to the payment gateways that are out there, and it's 6 months or a year, and they haven't heard back. They've they've been asked multiple times कि उनको ये document चाहिए, वो document चाहिए, हम visit करेंगे, office दिखाएं, a lot of the due diligence that they do.
Yeah.
What is the main problem? Why is this happening?
So there are two elements to this, the way I look at it. So one is the onboarding, as you rightly mentioned. So, that entire onboarding process needs to be seamless. And there are two components to also the onboarding process. One is to have the ability to do digital onboarding with your IPG or internet payment gateway. Now, luckily, the state bank has passed regulations in that regard. So a lot of the banks are now moving towards digital onboarding, which is very, very good. But then
Okay.
it's also, the internal processes of a lot of the gateways as well. How quickly they respond, how they sort of talk to you, how often they sort of follow up with you as well. So that's also critical. Now, one of the ways we're sort of fixing that is we have this very simple live chat feature on our website and our merchant portal, our builder portal, where anyone can message us at any time. We'll always respond and then follow up very quickly as well. So, that barrier where, you need to know someone and you need to know their phone number, email address, yeah, isse connect kara do. That is the first thing we're getting rid of. So you want to talk to any of one of us, log into our portal, go to our website. There's a live chat button over there and that'll always be available. The second part, so that's the onboarding part. The second part is the technical integration. So like at Yevo, I've done, I believe it was 6 or 7 payment integrations over 4 years over there. And none of them ever really went very smoothly. So, that is one of the key concerns as well. So, a company like Yevo, we were able to still manage and pull through because we had the sort of technical resources, technical depth and experience. But for a small builder, an SME or someone who's just sort of starting out, it's impossible for them to do that. They literally need a plug and play solution. So this is where we at bSecure, we're connecting all the payment gateways in Pakistan, and we're giving out our plugins, which you can literally install in 2 minutes.
Awesome. When do we see this in action, Adam?
So bSecure has been in beta since August. We're lucky. We already have a few dozen builders live as well. And we're just sort of, what we're doing right now is we're building out more plugins. So we have WooCommerce ready, Magento 2 is live. We have our iOS and Android SDKs ready as well. We're now building so for the more experienced developers, we're building packages for Laravel, Python, and all these other sort of languages. And we're integrating as many payment gateways as we can as quickly as possible as well. Because the more we have on board, the better. And one of the key experiences we then provide on the consumer angle is we're also in the process of becoming PCI DSS compliant. So we will save your card information, your wallet information, and all of that as well. So you never have to enter it in again.
Awesome. Chalo, can't wait, man. Really looking forward to this. Serious problem that you're solving. So I think that it's what you've hit the nail on the head where is the fact that customer experience is something that a lot of people talk about, a lot of companies talk about, but we don't really provide great customer experience in any area, generally speaking, in Pakistan. And I think that because of the fact that people have experienced great UI UX when it comes to international apps that they're using on a daily basis, like Instagram or Facebook or Google or WhatsApp, the simplicity, the sadapan, if you will, of these platforms is something that people have experienced. And so when they compare that experience with what generally they're getting from Pakistani companies, they know that there's something wrong, and they are maybe forced to use those platforms at the moment. But if somebody can bring out the right kind of experiences, they will jump ship very, very quickly. A lot of the times I'm asked this question: how will SadaPay compete with other EMIs, other banks, other wallets? My answer is very simple. Nowadays, the world is not black and white. It's gray. It's really, an 18-20 sort of situation where if you provide even a 10% better experience, you will corner the market. Because an extra 2 seconds nowadays in completing something that should take 10 seconds less is money on the table, right?
Exactly.
So it's all about execution. I mean, top line aap cheezein badi badi kar sakte hain. I'm in a regulated space, so I can't really launch something which others can't do, right? The regulation constricts us to do what it allows everyone the same level playing field. But the thing that people are looking for right now are great user experiences, whether it be in e-commerce, whether it be in fintech. And so that's how we scale, that's how we win. And I'm glad that you're really concentrating on that part of a user's journey when it comes to payment on an e-commerce transaction.
This is so true, because I remember a study I read about 2 years ago where a lot of millennials and younger consumers were asked, would you bank with Google? So, they listed down a couple of
Yeah.
names such as Google, Facebook, and, would you trust them to be your bank? And the overwhelming majority said, yeah, I would trust Google. And
Yeah.
it's not just because I think Google has that trust element, because I think they'll create a much better experience of it, because it
Yeah.
is so critical. Like, I'll tell you, like, I've got, like, even in the UK, where I've got a few sort of fintech plays, like apps and so on installed, there's so many good user experiences you see over there that can be so easily implemented over here as well.
Yeah.
And it's so simple. But and anyone who gives that experience, it might take a couple of months here and there, but honestly, the customers will, once they try it or see a friend use it, they will get hooked on very, very easily, because we are yearning for that. And to give you an experience from the e-commerce side, when we started Daraz in 2012, at that point as well, people were saying, oh, so you'll do all your deliveries within 1 or 2 days, because that was in effect what Amazon was doing at that time over there.
Mm.
They just sort of launched 2-day delivery and things like that. So, even though Pakistan had never really done e-commerce at scale, and I still don't think I can really say that even today, but that expectation from the customers was so high because of either things they've seen abroad or how they perceive it to be, that their expectations in Pakistan are high as well, and we as practitioners have to sort of deliver on that. And I think we will
Right.
be rewarded if we are able to do that.
Yes, definitely. So, Adam, let's move on to the general scenario when it comes to e-commerce in Pakistan. The naysayers out there say that e-commerce is still very challenging. It's something that has not scaled in Pakistan, but I mean, the numbers that are coming out of the State Bank report that I was just reading are astounding. So the e-commerce market has grown by 55% in just last year, and now it's expanded to 235 billion rupees. That's like 1.5 billion dollars in a country like Pakistan. So, what do you think is fueling that? Where do you see the and it has grown a lot, I think, during COVID, but
Yeah.
but if you take COVID out of the situation, do you feel that we're on a cusp of something big? Are we going to see something which is like a hockey stick growth, or is it going to be more gradual?
So I would say there's a lot of good things happening, but there's a lot of areas that are still needed for improvement. So to put a few things into context, the numbers that the State Bank reported, they were up to July this year, I believe. So the full COVID impact wasn't necessarily there, just about 2-3 months or so, and it has been growing very rapidly. So that 55% or so on growth is sort of there, and that is a very good sign. But if you then put that into context, that still becomes less than 1%. So the last sort of real retail report I read, which was from Bloomberg about a year and a half, 2 years ago, if we just compare it to those numbers, e-commerce is still less than 1% of the total retail market. So, it's still a minuscule percentage when you look at countries like the US, which is at 10-12%, China, which is at 25%. And this I'm talking before Corona. During the latest numbers that I've seen out of China and the UK, they're both at like 40% plus right now. So, we are still tiny compared to that. And what we need to realize is, while that growth is coming in, one of the things, so one of the mistakes I also made, when I started in 2012, we also used to think e-commerce will literally take over and just blow the entire retail landscape. There will be no such thing as retail. And as we've grown and seen people like Alibaba and Walmart and Amazon do acquisitions into the retail space, so Whole Foods for Amazon, Hema for Alibaba, it will be a mix. So
Yeah.
whether it's omni-channel or I can't remember exactly the term, Alibaba, new retail that Alibaba uses, there will be a mix, but technology has to drive that. I still feel to this day that the biggest problem in Pakistan right now is e-commerce is thought to be another different type of retail, which it isn't. For me, and one of my pet peeves is, for me, e-commerce is always supposed to be with a small e in front of a big C of commerce, because we are just the digital distribution channel. So e-commerce itself can only be as strong as the digital, the commerce and the retail markets that's there. And
Hmm.
to give you some example of this, so working while at Yevo and even at Kaymu and Daraz, we saw this. Even a lot of the large retailers, they have completely separate distribution channels for both e-commerce and typical retail. Even within their own e-commerce arm, they can divide it. So at one point, we were doing a sale with a large brand, and what they've done is they allocated inventory for the retail stores, allocated inventory for e-commerce, and then even the e-commerce inventory that allocated, they divided that between their own website, Daraz, and Yevo. So if one
Okay.
of those channels ran out, they did not have access to the others, and
Hmm.
the other inventory. And at that point, what's happening is you're in effect hurting the customer experience at the end of the day. And if we're really going deep into this, so this is just the success part we're looking at. Just placing the order. When you go
ठीक है.
further deeper into it, when you come to doing refunds, it becomes much harder. So let's say you order something from a shirt shop or something like that. The size is
Hmm.
just slightly off. Doing a return is a hassle. Now, what I would like to see is, taking that shirt, either returning it very simply or even just taking it to the retail outlet and exchanging it right then and there. So, give
Right.
that pure omni-channel sort of experience. I think that's critical.
Right.
And this will only happen when e-commerce and your retail and commerce is sort of connected through core technology that's sort of built together to talk to each other as well. And I think that is where we really need to improve.
Sure. I think e-commerce, the return situation has to be sorted. I think you're absolutely right. I was surprised to see a delivery recently in my neighborhood. It was being done by a shoe store, Jomo.pk.
Yeah.
And so when I stepped outside, I saw this rider. It was a Jomo rider. It wasn't a courier company. They're directly delivering it. And I saw a guy trying on shoes right outside his house. So they had this small carpet so that the
Yeah.
shoes wouldn't get dirty. And he tried them on, and I don't know if he
Nice.
liked them or bought them or not. But Jomo's commitment was that you only pay if you like the fit, if you like how it looks, and otherwise, if you don't like them, we'll take it back. So
That's phenomenal. I
I
heard of this experience, but to that level of detail where you mentioned they actually brought out a carpet for him to dry, that's phenomenal. That is
yeah.
an insane amount of detail. That's really going after the UI, UX, as you mentioned earlier. That's phenomenal. And we need this. And we really need this because, and see, there's another challenge there. So Jomo is a brand new startup. They're obviously just starting to scale. And, when you're at a small scale, doing these things is very easy
Hmm.
comparatively. Now, when you
Hmm.
start to scale up and you start going into like going from 10, 20, 100 orders a day to 1,000 to
Hmm.
5,000 to 20,000 orders a day,
Hmm.
scaling this up becomes much, much harder. And this is where not only do the companies need to figure out technology solutions, but the industry as a whole needs to work together to be able to do this, because one company alone cannot do all of this. It's impossible. The industry needs to really do this together. So logistics companies need to be able to provide this option. I was at visiting and talking to some friends at a logistics company yesterday, and they are now starting to go really deep into this space, doing things like try and buy, and where they're even saying that what they'll do is, so if an order is rejected from one customer, rather than say shipping the item back to Pakistan, if the another customer in another city closer by has ordered the same package, they'll repackage it and deliver it over there. So, really saving the cost. Or if
Hmm.
they have a retail store in that location, rather than shipping it all the way back to Karachi,
Hmm.
again, from Okara or wherever, they'll just deliver it to the nearest retail location. These are
Hmm.
the key challenges that technology can solve, and that's what we really need to work on. And
Hmm.
because without technology, none of this is scalable.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned a small city like Okada, because I think that हम लोग जब सोचते हैं e-commerce के बारे में, and there are viewers out there who are thinking about e-commerce, maybe they've experiences, maybe they have not, but we look at life through our point of view. So generally KLI, and we see that, oh, why should we do e-commerce? There are some risks attached to a return yoga size nahi fit aayega, so might as well just go out to a mall. It's a nice experience, and I might as well just go buy over there. But there are hundreds of smaller cities out there. Most of Pakistan is not in KLI, right? It's in smaller cities. So I think that from their point of view, somebody in Okada doesn't have access to the kind of merchandise that we have access to. And so I think as far as Daraz is concerned, for example, most of their sales come from tier 2 cities, and it's not KLI. And so I think the potential of Pakistan is kind of under recognized by the people who are in these big cities. So I think that's also something that we should keep in mind. So Adam, is COD evil?
So I think COD is a necessary evil at this point in time. It's a necessary evil. So I've done a lot of research into COD. So even like 4 or 5 years ago, when I was really diving deep into this COD side, America. So when in the early 1900s, late 1800s, early 1900s, when Sears and these big retail stores started coming up, Sears and all of these others, they had these mail-in catalogs. Those mail-in catalogs actually became quite famous. So direct selling and things like that. And I was going into the detail of this. And do you know how the payment for those mail-in catalogs was done when you ordered a product? Cash on delivery. So what they did, there was no other way. I mean, this is early 1900s. There's no other way except cash. So what they did was they used to send the product to the customer. And then if the customer liked it, they basically stuffed an envelope full of cash and mailed it back to the retailer.
Okay.
So our COD is still much better than that. There's still some level of safety from the builder's point of view, if you look at it. But, it is something that's needed. And from our side, if you look at Pakistan right now, and cash on delivery is not going away anytime soon. So how many? We have just shy of 2 million credit cards, 27 million debit cards. I think mobile wallets will be in the early double-digit numbers for mobile wallets, and active numbers will be much lower between all of these. And then whether you can even do payments without calling the bank is another thing, although that has gotten much, much better in the last sort of 2-3 years. But so access is one element, but then the other comes to I mentioned quickly before. E-commerce stores, the majority of them do not have a prepayment gateway installed. So even if a customer is willing to do that shopping through a prepayment channel, if the e-commerce store doesn't have it installed, what's the point? So those access areas need to be looked at, and I think that move away from COD can happen quickly, but customers need to get comfortable with prepayment choice. So to give you an example from China, so I spent 2 years in China between 2010 2012, and at that point, honestly, even all e-commerce orders, 80-90% of e-commerce orders at that point were cash on delivery. And then and this is 8 years ago, I'm talking 8 years ago only. And then when VPay and Alipay came out in, I think, 2013-14, and then started growing, and they grew so quickly because of their ease of use, their UI, UX, all of these elements. And by today, the latest numbers I read was 80+% of urban shoppers use mobile wallets. So the total number doing prepayments will be well into the 90% when you take credit cards and all of these into account. And in terms of the rural areas, about 50% of shoppers are using mobile wallets. So maybe 60-70% on prepayment. So, we can bring about this change very quickly. China did it in 5 years. Now, if we potentially take some of the right steps and we work on the customer experience and things like that, another 5-10 years for us, there's no reason why we can't do it as well.
Yeah, I think the function why COD is popular and prepayments are not is directly linked to the trust issue that we have, because I think whenever you offer discounts or you have these Black Friday sales, the number of prepayments shoot up, because people kind of make this choice in their head that, okay, I don't particularly trust this merchant, but still this discount is too good. Let me take that risk. So this is like latent demand that usually is not there because the trust factor is not there. There's no consumer protection. Is there anything that we can do on that end? Is there something that the government must do, or we don't need them to step in?
So,
Industry players should sort it
um,
out themselves.
so the first part I'll answer is, how do you build trust? I think that's a key point. So we did a study at Yevo. So we looked at a large cohort of data over about a year or so, and we segmented all customers who did their first transaction via cash on delivery. And then
Okay.
we only looked at those customers whose orders that were placed had a good experience. So, i.e., they were delivered within, let's say, 5 days. And then we looked at their second, third, fourth, fifth order, and we saw that by the time they were getting to the third or fourth order, about 50% of them had moved to prepayment. So, I think customers on a large scale realize as well, COD is not convenient, but you build
Mm,
trust by being consistent. So if you can
mm,
consistently deliver to the customer, they will basically come on to prepayment itself. From the
mm,
government side, I think a lot of good work is actually happening within the Ministry of Commerce, and they're creating the e-commerce. They've created the e-commerce policy and so on. But I think one of the key things that needs to happen is we need to also push banks to basically really focus on active users who are actually using wallets and things like that. I think a lot of this is market driven as well. A
okay.
competition can come into it. So Easy Pesa versus Jazz Cash, who has the highest number of active mobile wallet users? And by
Mm.
active mobile wallet users, I mean not just doing mobile top-ups, but actually doing more than 3, 4 non-mobile top-up transactions a month or something like that.
So you're saying that you would like the banks and the mobile wallet players to do marketing campaigns when it comes to e-commerce? Is that how we drive prepayments? Or
I would say they need to focus on, again, the user experience and the ease of use. So a
okay,
lot of that happens, you have to look at the entire value chain. So the
sure.
first thing that we need to look at is if you create a wallet, how easy is it to create a wallet? I think
Mm,
that is fairly easy in Pakistan today. But then the second most critical point that comes in is how do you fund that wallet? The
mm,
ability to fund that wallet is also very critical. And then you have to look at the different segments of customers you have. So your SECA, if you look at it, they want to do simple bank transfers, and they want to do a pull IBFT or a push IBFT, whichever one it is. And so you need to make it very simple across that entire platform for everyone.
okay, fair enough. Do you see any of the big international players coming into Pakistan anytime soon? The Amazons of the world, or Alibaba is technically here, but
I don't see why not. So the only reason why I think they might not come in at this minute is because they think the opportunity at this point is too small. They think that
okay.
they can easily wait it out another 3, 4, 5 years and then still come in and play the game, basically. Because if you look at a company like Alibaba, who's already here, if you look at their financial statements on a quarterly basis, these guys are making like 20, 30 billion, like 5, 6 billion in profit a quarter. So, for them, they only really go after the big opportunities. Someone like
Mm,
Amazon as well, they're not really playing for just 1% of the total e-commerce market. They want a much larger chunk of it. So when the market size automatically increases, so we're at 1.5 billion right now,
mm,
e-commerce estimated, that's still very small technically for the large players. They're
mm.
probably looking at market size where 10, 20, 30 billion makes sense to them, because then they can really play properly.
Yeah, I think it's a chicken and the egg sort of situation. I think if a big player like Amazon comes in with the trust factor that they have, the protections that they will be able to offer, the kind of cloud they will have with the vendors, and to keep
Mm.
them all in line and make sure that they deliver the kind of standards that they're expecting, I think this number can shoot up very, very quickly. So I think the number that they should be looking at is the overall retail piece rather than what e-commerce is contributing right now. So I think point taken. I'm sure we're on their radar. They're probably
Of
looking
course.
at some indicators on a regular basis, because an emerging market like Pakistan, 200 million population, 60% under 30, these are good macro numbers, but there are some things which are keeping them away. So I think all in due
Wait,
time.
this is where the key for me is these guys can come in at any point and they can also say like, we'll come in 3 years, we'll put in an extra 50 million, we'll still
Yeah,
come to the same point. It's just a matter of time rather than money for these guys.
sure. Interesting. So, okay, so let's not talk about too much out in the future. How do you see anything big happening in 2021? Do you see some interesting aspects or something changing, or is it again going to be something on a normal scale?
So one of the key things I'm actually looking forward to in 2021 is to see whether consumer behavior has actually changed on a more permanent basis across
Okay.
because of Corona. Now, the State Bank has published numbers up until July this year. Once
Mm.
the quarter one, FY21, quarter two up until December, next year's numbers start coming in, this will be really interesting to see
Mm.
whether we're sort of sustaining that level of demand across
Mm.
online. And I think so. One of the things I've been noticing myself, so I've been placing a lot of orders over the last 6 months, having been sort of stuck at
Mm.
home as well. Generally, one of the key numbers I always look at is when I'm ordering from large marketplaces, at least, is the valid to net rate. The valid to net rate is basically what percentage of orders actually get delivered to the customer.
Okay.
And up until 3, 4 years ago, that number unfortunately was abysmal. It was 70, 80%, 90% in some of the cases. I've just run some numbers quickly. So over the last 6 months, I've bought over 100 items online. So everything from just crayons to slightly larger items as well. And of the 107 items I've bought, only 5 of them were never delivered to me. And so that's a rejection or a cancellation rate of just less than 5%, which I think
Okay.
is a big improvement compared to where we were before. And again, of those 107 items that were delivered, I think there's only two, maybe three items where I wasn't necessarily happy with the quality or they were broken on arrival. I think that's generally a good sign. Where again, it's not perfect, it's not a hundred
Mm.
percent as it should be, but compared to the numbers I was looking at 2, 3 years ago, where 10, 20, 30% of orders weren't being delivered, I think this is a big leap we've already taken. So I think what this will do is now it'll help the trust start coming into the market, because
Mm.
trust can only happen with consistency, and if consistently e-commerce stores can deliver time after time, people will keep ordering.
Mm. Yeah. Yes, I think that the winds are blowing in the right direction. ये कुछ चीजें inevitable होती हैं.
Yeah.
So our thesis, of course, with Sada Pay is that people with smartphones, a million smartphones come online in Pakistan every year. So, it's inevitable that people would want all digital experiences when it comes to fintech, and
Exactly.
same with e-commerce. I think that I mean, the kind of rents that people have to pay to have a storefront in a specific geographical location, it just doesn't make sense anymore. So, so I think e-commerce is definitely inevitable. I think COVID has moved the needle. Probably, I think you're right that we need to see, but I think it's pretty permanent. I think once people have gotten the taste of the convenience of e-commerce when you get things delivered, to your home or your office, and then आजकल तो वो groceries वाले भी 45 minutes में hyper local delivery कर रहे हैं. So,
Exactly.
जब सब्जी तरकारी जो है आपके पास घर बैठे आ रही है, why would you want to go out? Corona or no corona, COVID-19 आया, COVID-20 कल आ सकता है, खुदा ना खास्ता. But
Yeah.
to have a physical business now is a huge question mark
Yeah.
in this new economy, and I think a lot of people, both on the vendor side and also on the consumer side, have realized that digital is the way to go. So you're right. I think the next State Bank report next year would be a very, very interesting thing to read. So I think that is going to be interesting. So we'll take a few questions from the audience. So interesting. Okay, so this question is kind of mixed both of us together. So I think that helps. So Adam, what are your expectations from the many EMI launches coming up in 2021? Well, hopefully.
So
How will that change?
I'll first give one very specific example to myself right now, and this is one of the expectations I have from you, Omer. Right
Okay.
now, I hate entering that OTP in. So what I want is when I order from my Sada Pay card next year, I don't want to be able to. I don't want to enter an OTP. I want to basically go to my Sada Pay app and say I accept this transaction, rather than
Okay.
enter an OTP. I want that, but on a much larger scale, to be honest, I think the key is getting cards in the hands of as many consumers as possible. So if we debit cards is at 26 million right now, credit cards at 2 million, so EMIs will generally give out debit cards. But if these debit cards that start going out from Sada Pay and the likes, if they are active more than anything else, I think it will potentially be a game changer. But I think you will probably be able to comment a little more on that as well.
Yeah, so I think, I don't know if you've read up on what we're planning to do. So every one of our customer gets a virtual card the minute he's onboarded, right? So it's completely free. You get it immediately after you onboard. So you're online from day one. Minute one. And then if you so choose to, you can order a physical card as well, and that allows you to do physical POS transactions, and you can do 3 free ATM withdrawals a month as well from any ATM in Pakistan. So we are a very card-centric, e-commerce-centric product because this is the new reality. We have to build for the future. We cannot build for the status quo. So point taken. We're definitely not fans of OTPs either. We hate them to our core. Unfortunately, the first version that's going to come out, inshallah, very very soon, is going to be with the 3D secure OTP. But we're working behind the scenes to bring a push notification where you just say yes and it's true. Yeah. Again, वही बात है, you have to look at small experiences, but they add up over time, and
Exactly.
and that's what we need to build for. Another question. Wow, I've never heard this before. This is super original. Okay, so look, the unfortunate, or the tricky part for us, to anyone who's watching or listening, is the fact that we're building a financial institution and it's super regulated, right? So we need to make sure that we're custodians of people's money, and so we need to make sure that the system is completely secure and it works as expected. We cannot make mistakes. We cannot send an order which is 2 sizes too small, right? And then say, oh, sorry, we'll send you a new one. So that's what's taking time on our end. But hold your breath. Sada Pay is launching soon, inshallah. Don't worry. Question for Adam: how are you facilitating international commerce through your platform?
So from our side, there's two things we'll be doing. So depending on the merchant, the builder type that's coming through, we are helping them with our banking partners create like an account with the bank where they can actually accept online, like international cards and everything like that. That's one. The second will be as we sort of grow, we'll give the ability to even do install Stripe and all these others as well. So if you're aiming for customers outside, they can use those payment platforms as well, because we are agnostic to the payment gateway itself being used, because we are a checkout solution. So we will install each and every payment platform that we can.
Okay. Are there any? Why isn't Stripe here otherwise?
That I don't. That's not a question I have any answer to be honest.
Cost of being Pakistan, right?
Why is PayPal not here?
True. True. Okay, so another question by Sarfraz. Lately, we have been hearing a lot on social media about receiving wrong items in the order and then claiming refund is very painful. Can there be a better solution for such problems in your experience, Adam?
So there's a few people I know who are working on sort of potential escrows and things like that. But this is actually one of those areas where unfortunately COD doesn't also help. This is where if you pay with a card is actually it's much easier, because I've had this experience twice in the last 6 months as well. And what I've just done is done a charge, called my bank, tell them to do a chargeback. But it's something where you really, if you're doing cash on delivery, you have to make sure you trust the merchant who you're basically ordering from, and look at reviews and everything that you can as well.
Hmm. Okay, so I think these are growing pains that we have to live with. So they will sort over time. Merchants that are providing great experiences. So I'm a big fan of home shopping. I feel that they usually provide really good experiences. Home shopping does not do COD. They're completely prepayment. Like they do not allow COD deliveries, right? So
Exactly.
can you imagine the amount of guts it would have taken for them to implement this? But
Mhm.
the only way they can do it is because people trust them, and they are able to take these prepayments, right? So I think market forces will decide the pretenders, and they will weed them out, and we will eventually end up with having great user experiences when it comes to e-commerce. As I said, Jomo, I could not believe my
I
eyes.
know. Oh
you
yeah,
know
I know. It is phenomenal. Like just the three, four things I've seen on social media as well. Is I've got the site open on one of my tabs. I'm just waiting to see what I like so I can actually order something and try it out myself.
Yes, yes, I'm also
It
doing that as well. I just don't like the kind of
exactly,
designs they have right now, but
exactly.
if they right, I'm ordering. I need that carpet out right outside my house.
Exactly. So this is critical. It's because people talk about the good and bad experiences. So and we're social animals like that. So talk to your friends, talk to people on social media, and you'll get a good enough review, and then base decisions on that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know anybody in Jomo. I don't have shares in Jomo. I've never bought from them, but I'm talking about an experience that I saw. It was remarkable.
Yeah.
So I think that if you provide great user experiences, you will have word of mouth marketing, which is the stickiest and the cheapest. So
And because in Pakistan, it's such a big thing to have a great user experience, people will talk about you more anyway.
yes,
Because
yes,
usually,
yes.
they say that if you have a bad experience, you'll tell five people. If you have a good experience, you'll tell one. In Pakistan, you could say if you have a good experience, you might tell 10 people because it's so unlikely to happen, at least in
Yeah,
the e-commerce world,
absolutely.
I'll say.
Absolutely. I mean, it is
Yeah.
shocking to have a good user experience here. And so you talk about it a lot. So, Adam, thank you so much. It was lovely speaking to you. I think that it was a super useful experience for all the users that joined us as well. I think we got to we saw a peek behind the curtains about what you're up to, but also generally what's happening in the e-commerce space. So, thank you so much, man. You guys can visit bsecure.pk to learn more about what they're up to. We cannot wait to see this product out in the market, Adam. And
Thank you.
thank you again for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Omar. And looking forward to Sada Pay as well. I'm going to be one of the early customers. I can promise you that.
Absolutely. Can't wait. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for episode 18 of Simply Sada. I can't wait to see you guys for episode 19, inshallah, very soon. Okay. Allah Hafiz.